Okay. We're so excited today to have Cait Caughy join us from the Center for Rural Affairs for our beat drop for our July meeting today. So welcome, Cait, and thank you for
Thanks.
joining us. Do you have slides that you'd like to share?
I do. I'm
Okay.
just going to request to share my screen.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay, can you see that?
Yep. Looks great.
I feel like Zoom changes every week. Like something looks different. It
Yes.
really stresses me out. I don't know if anyone feels that way, but so if you can't see it or something, just let me know. But thank you so much for letting me be here. Someone gave me a time check so don't ramble and go too long. But yeah, I'm really excited to tell you a little bit about the farm to school work that I do through the Center for Rural Affairs in Southwest Iowa. This is my third year working on it. I've been with the center for 5 years. I do a lot of farm to school work, but I also do a lot of work with beginning farmers. That's kind of like the other hat that I wear here at the center. So I have like various training programs and grant programs and a seed saving cohort that I run for beginning farmers. And I do that work in Nebraska and then 12 counties of Southwest Iowa. So that's kind of my region. Oh, okay. So yeah, the last picture was a picture of some of the kiddos planting this spring at Riverside Elementary in Oakland, Iowa. And these are some of the students that I had last year in the program at Avoca. They designed their own plant sale besides just growing greens for the school. They designed their own plant sale and then they were also vendors at the farmers market. And it was a collaboration between their ag sciences, plant science, and ag business classes. It was really fun. They were great students to work with. So we have basically two staffers, and then we have an additional contractor. So excited working with us this school year, Danelle Meyer of One Farm in Logan, Iowa. So there's three of us that are on the ground doing this farm to school education and procurement work. We're a small team. We also all run other grants. So, but it's great. And this is the area that we work in. So in the past, we were just doing education programs the past 2 years. So we were working with ag students. The ag students and teachers would design a project to grow food on site at the school. That was our goal. How can we grow more food here at the school and get that food into the cafeteria and have the kids cooking with that food, etc. We added a procurement piece this year, which was really exciting. And so now we are providing local foods procurement coaching to food service directors in these counties in Southwest Iowa. Um, yeah, some of you know this map. Some of you are also doing this work. Thank you so much for everything you do. We say that we're always following in your footsteps over here, trying to get things up and going. Just really briefly about the Center for Rural Affairs, we sort of have three main strategies of the work that we do. As I mentioned, I work a lot with local foods, beginning farmers, and farm to school. Um, and we also have loan and financing. We're a CDFI, so that's a big part of the work we do. We also have a very large policy team. We do policy work in 4 states as well as federal policy work. So yeah, if you're ever interested, you want to just know more about the center, let me know. I'd love to tell you all the things we do. Our headquarters is in Lyons, Nebraska, and we've been around for 52 years. So, our exciting farm to school activities for this school year, we have 5 high schools on board. We will bring 5 more in for the following school year. We work to develop a farm to school team. That's usually always the ag teacher, the FCS teacher, if they have one, FFA chapter, principal, the superintendent, food service director, and any other teacher that really wants to be engaged with the garden or greenhouse or anything like that. Just kind of depends on each school. The schools work with me and we design basically a specialty crop growing project. So that can be in an outside garden, in the school greenhouse. It could be both of those elements. It could also be indoor growing if they want to do hydroponics or grow towers. That's also something that we've done. Um, The school also works with us, the food service staff, on procurement planning and sourcing. That's kind of new. And we are also offering $2,000 that we're asking schools to match for local foods procurement, and that will be happening this fall. So most of the folks we've talked to are like, yep, we'll do that, kind of the first semester of when school starts. We'll also be offering activities. With this new funding, we can ramp up. We've done um, Iowa School Garden Day in the past. 2 years ago, I did Great Apple Crunch, I think, at two of my schools. So with this new funding, we're going to ramp up these activities. We love taking pictures. I have a lot of pictures of all the wonderful things that we do. We'll also be offering taste tests. Um, and additionally to that, we have a farmer cohort as part of our farm to school work. So there's 15 farmers in the farmer cohort. And the purpose is to train, mentor them to scale up so that they can sell to institutions. They are also receiving mini grants. They went through an all-day training. Those mini grants are for anything they need on their farm to scale up. So that could be like packaging materials. It could be something they need for their wash pack area, anything related to food safety on the farm, etc. So we actually just finished reviewing our first round of those grants, and they're about to go out to prepare everyone for the fall sales. Another element is that we received a decently sized pollinator garden grant. And so this spring we were working on installing native plantings at each of the schools, which is a passion of mine. So it's been really fun to do that. This is just a look at, these are the schools that we're working with this year. We will be running this program for 3 more years. So we will work with these five, and then we'll be able to offer this. We'll open those applications up in spring of 27, and we'll be able to, before the summer, onboard our next round of 5 schools. And those are some of the greens that students grow, and that's the AHSTW greenhouse. As I mentioned, we're doing some really nice pollinator plantings. The one on the right is at Tri Center in Neola, Iowa, and that's been a really fun project. We're doing a whole hillside, and we're working with the county conservation on that one as well. So it's going to be beautiful. I can't wait. And some of them are smaller, some of them are just kind of in the garden area. But we also hope to expand this project as we're able. Um, so one of the other things I kind of want to mention, and I think a challenge and an opportunity in the farm school program, is that a lot of schools have greenhouses, but a lot of times they are empty or really underutilized. And so that's kind of where we can come in to provide consulting and advising on getting those greenhouses actually growing food, as well as other things, depending on what the schools are, interested in, and then what their curriculum, what they'd like to do for their curriculum. We use a lot of student voice in everything that we do, so we make sure that the students are excited about what we're growing. I had a student last year that was really, really into peppers and cucumbers, so we produced a lot of those in the greenhouse and took up a lot of space. On the right, this is a smaller greenhouse in Stanton, Iowa, that they again got a grant, got a greenhouse kit, and it was just really, really underutilized. They didn't really know how to run the greenhouse at all. So to me, again, it's a challenge. And it's also a huge opportunity when we can step in and get things going in there. Those students specifically were really interested in microgreens. We did salad mixes and microgreens mostly in that smaller greenhouse. As I mentioned, some of the students are really interested in entrepreneurship and how they can also raise money. So one of our schools, a couple of our schools do plant sales, but one of them hadn't tried one yet, and they were really interested in raising money to put up a high tunnel. So that's what they're working towards right now. And then once we can get that high tunnel up and going, we're planning to also help them get a farm number and work with NRCS Equip. We can do more food production in the high tunnel. So we're excited about that. And that's kind of their big goal. All the greenhouses are set up really differently. So you can see this is one of two greenhouses at Logan, and they grow in raised beds inside their house. And so again, we're also trialing different grow methods. And sometimes we step into a greenhouse and it already has kind of infrastructure, what they've been doing. So we go from there. Grow towers of all kinds are and growing in the classrooms, whether it's in the ag science room or in the FCS classroom. Some of our schools still have active cooking programs and nutrition classes, but that's really been an interest of teachers as well as to be able to grow things indoors. We also are doing a larger project with hydroponics on the Nebraska side, actually. We have 15 schools in our farm to school program in the Nebraska side, and they're working with Crop King to install these really nice hydroponic units. So I am just learning those right now, and that might be something that we bring over to Iowa. We'll see if the schools are interested, but that's also another option. And one of the benefits of those is just like the regulation when teachers are not at the school or staff are not at the school, and how those units can grow food on various timers and things like that, that can make it a little easier to manage. We also provided a school with a small grant to build a greenhouse. The ag students were really excited in the building process, and their ag teacher specifically was really into construction and kind of wanted to show them how to build raised beds as well as a greenhouse. So that was something that we worked on. I didn't have any updated pictures of it's all planted out now, and I couldn't find a picture of that. And then a lot of our school gardens are of different sizes. I think the smallest one's about 8 raised beds, and the biggest one's like 30. Schools are really interested in perennials. One of our schools is going to be putting in fruits, small fruits this fall. They also have cows, pigs, chickens, and ducks at their school already. So that's really exciting. And the students take turn doing chores with those. But they don't have a small orchard, and that's kind of the project and the direction that they're going, to have more fruit production on site. I also mentioned we have a farmer cohort. The farmer cohort attended an all-day farm to school training where they went, just through all the things they need to get prepared to sell to a school, even writing their introductory letter, working on their product availability, understanding product specifications, packaging, things like that, how to best communicate with food service directors. Um, we are, as I mentioned, going to start that procurement once school starts here, once it gets started again. 10 farmers will receive the mini grant that we're offering. And then we also are going to do farmer visits as part of our program. So we'll have 5 farmers from the cohort who will come a couple different times to the schools. That might be some at a time when we're doing a taste test. It could be during another activity. It could be during a STEM night. Maybe they'll come and lead a class in the greenhouse. So it's really up to them. We just kind of ask the school and the teachers what they'd like to do. And then we ask the farmers what which school they'd like to visit and what they're most interested in. So, okay. I think I'm right on time. Oh, yay. That worked out. I wasn't sure. So that's an overview of what we're up to. It's kind of a lot. And do people have questions for me?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I think that what you're doing is really amazing, and I'm curious to know if you feel like your model of like your ability to provide technical assistance to a set amount of schools, if that's scalable or like could be used as a model for other areas, or do you feel like it works best in rural areas? I'm just curious about,
Yeah.
yeah, that level of assistance you're providing is really
Yeah.
incredible.
I mean, I really think it could work in any district, rural or previous to this. Some of you on the call know that I ran farm to school programs in Omaha Public Schools for about 8 years. So kind of similar model. That was a much bigger program. I had like 15 full-time staff at that time. Really similar to kind of the food corps model. We didn't have food corps in Nebraska, but essentially training folks, sending them out, and then they're based at certain schools. I think the big challenge with our model is just there's only a few of us. We're traveling a lot. We have to build in a lot of, funding for our travel. Each of us are about an hour. I would say every school is 45 minutes to 2 hours away from where we are. So that's like a whole day usually that we're going to spend, or half a day out of school, which is fine. Um, but that just limits the amount of time that we can be there. I think that's kind of the biggest challenge. Obviously, in an urban area, travel would be, 15, 20 minutes. I think that one of the things at the center, also in response to that, is that we really try to work with farmers as contractors, or like building up farmers as in different leadership positions. Again, they have the knowledge and the skill set for specialty crop production. So let's bring them in. And it's a win-win because then they get to meet the families and the students of the area where they're growing. We also recognize that farmers don't always have the time to do that, but we also recognize that most farmers have off-farm jobs. So, again, I think this model this year with taking on 5 schools and really expanding our programming at each school, it's so beneficial that we can have Danelle on board for helping. I don't have to train her really. She can just go to the school, look at the garden, look at the greenhouse. We have a meeting, we sit down with the ag teacher, we design the project, we know what our plan is, and she can really go in and execute. So I think that's really helpful. Um, we also have, I'll just mention really quickly, there's 2 retired ag teachers in Nebraska who do greenhouse consulting just kind of for fun. It's just their passion and they really want to see schools grow food. Like that's what they're all about. And so they've been working with our Nebraska schools, and we were just in Mead, Nebraska, working on a hydroponics unit last week. And I said, will you please come over to Iowa? Because what they do is they'll just spend a day in the greenhouse and they'll make a whole list, just recommendations of how to like get the infrastructure and the systems working better. And that's so helpful because sometimes the greenhouses are older, and there's just like a lot of simple adjustments that need to be made, old tubing that's clogged, or we need to take this fan apart and it needs to be moved over here. Just little tweaks like that. So they're going to be able to visit all of our greenhouses this fall. I'm really excited for that as well. They're a
And
great resource.
maybe just like one follow-up question to that. How much time do you spend, like if you're bringing a school on, how much time do you allot to be like, what does that like consultant contract look like?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Um,
Or is it a certain number of visits or check-ins or
so we don't really have a certain number of visits per se. It depends on the project. And honestly, it depends on the ag teachers too. Like some ag teachers are like, I need you to come the first couple weeks, get everything up and going, and then I'm probably good for, a few weeks. If I need you, I'll call you. Um, we will have at least 3 activities with students at all 5 schools this fall. So I can say that much. So we will be like there in person, either doing a taste test, in the cafeteria, doing some type of activity in the greenhouse. So those are like scheduled classes. And then outside of that, I just go kind of when they need me. This week, for example, I will be in 3 different towns. Um, it's hard to say. I guess I maybe the best thing to say is we have a contractor who's probably at like 20 hours a week. And then Jess working on this, and then myself, I'm probably at like 60% working on farm to school. That's also hard to say. There's
yeah,
like,
thank you.
um, yeah,
And
with 5 schools.
the last thing I'll say is I think your schools might be great candidates for the youth local food leader educator cohort.
Yeah, yes. So, one of my ag teachers reached out to me about that at the end of last week. So we're going to talk about that this week. Yeah.
great
Yeah,
connection. Yeah.
I think sky's the limit with like so one thing I'll just mention really quick and then I'll be quiet is that we're really focusing on high school students right now. We have worked with elementary and middle um and we're open to that as well, but I just think given the curriculum and the amount of time those students can actually spend in the garden and greenhouse, for example, it's just like our projects are kind of more successful, really focusing on the high schoolers. And then a lot of them have that like entrepreneurship component built into their classes. So this is again another really great opportunity for them to like learn about fruit production, learn about farming as a potential career pathway, and just engage them more. I just think they're kind of more excited about it. So we did do that transition to just focus on high school. I have a kitten on my desk who is, if you're wondering what I'm doing, my cat likes to sit on my desk. So, okay.
Yeah, Kate, I feel like you're doing multiple full-time jobs. When you said it's only 60% farm to school, I'm like, oh, I can't like on top of that, you have the whole farmer cohort and everything. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask about the high school focus. I think my only question was like where do your go-to like school wants to start a greenhouse? Where do you send them to like decide what investment to make in that or what type
Sure.
of greenhouse to get? Like,
Yeah. That's a really good question. So we have used Greenhouse Mega Store for some high tunnels, Nifty Hoops, Stuppy for greenhouse, um, and I'm totally spacing on the other one, Farm Tech. So again, it just kind of depends on first, like how much can they fundraise? Do they have a grant? Like, what does that look like? I would say schools have often somewhere in the $10,000 to $25,000 range that they can secure for these greenhouses. And at the upper end of that, that's a decent greenhouse. They usually want to buy them new, like buy a new kit, even though, I've said like we could probably find a greenhouse for half this price that's in good condition. Anyway, but that's fine. That's kind of what the schools would like to do. I do know that some of the funders of those are Farm Bureau, Farm Credit Services. There are other funders as well. There are local banks that have funded greenhouses for schools. Um, I have a lot of, I guess, and similarly with these contractors, these retired ag teachers that are assisting us, there's like a lot of mistakes that you can make with putting up a greenhouse and the infrastructure that you get. So in general, a huge recommendation that I have, also because ag teachers change, principals change, superintendents change, is to simplify the actual like electrical and like the infrastructure that you have in the greenhouse as much as possible. So a lot of times folks want to get the one with like all the bells and whistles, and then literally no one knows how to run the system. So that's something I run into a lot, or oftentimes the schools will say, like, only the facilities director can run the system, and they won't allow access to the teachers. That's another thing I've run into, which is again, like, and we really need to have, if a teacher is leaving that knows how to run the greenhouse, they really need to train the next person. We really need to make sure. Um, so I don't know. There's a lot of troubleshooting different things with the greenhouses. Like I had a facilities director that just shut the greenhouse off one day, like didn't communicate to anyone, didn't communicate to the ag teacher. Everything burnt up. All of the trays and pots melted. It was
oh,
very wild. One thing I will mention, because summer is also a question we always get, right, with school gardens. Summer, summer, summer. Um, I help the schools make a schedule. We either have volunteer groups or families that rotate and take different weeks. And with the high schoolers, their FFA chapters, they usually have to do hours. And oftentimes they have funding to pay students for those hours. or at least it's just straight up volunteer hours that they need to work towards something. So we've really leaned into the high schoolers actually doing that labor in the summer. So they're responsible for opening and closing, they're responsible for watering, checking on any pest or disease issues, etc. So make it a job for the teens.
I have to say I'm just so impressed. I'm This is overwhelming amount of work and so valuable, and I'm envious that we don't have access to something like this in our area. I would love to push for that in more of our district schools.
Mhm.
Thank you for bringing this to
Yeah,
kids.
I mean, I think it would be great to talk more about how this model could, like, folks could be trained in little pods across the state. Yeah, using kind of the design that we have for this program, and yeah, I would love to see something like that happen. As I mentioned, a lot of these greenhouses are really, really underutilized. They're like growing begonias or full of moldy plants, or like you never know what you might find. Yeah. And it's also pretty amazing how much we can, produce in a school garden. Um,
Do you have any statistics on the impact on childhood hunger and what this is doing for like the free and reduced population within a school?
I don't. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say back when I worked in Omaha Public Schools, we did a lot of research around that. Like how many pounds were we producing in the garden? We had not only did we teach during the school day, but also after school programs. So, and we recorded how much was going home with students every single week at all of those sites, how much would go home at family nights. Um, so yeah, that was something I worked on more kind of in the past.
Do any of your schools utilize this for a school food pantry?
No, but two of the schools that I've worked with put some of the produce that was grown into the weekend backpacks or bags that went home. And two of the schools that still have FCS classrooms that I've worked with in Southwest Iowa have a lot of students that come to school hungry or in the middle of the day need a snack and don't have snacks. And so they would come into the classrooms a lot, and their teacher would be like, go to the fridge. There is tons of stuff in there. Take whatever you want. So that's just like something I've seen happening, but I don't have any like official
Yes.
numbers or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for
Amazing.
your questions.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you so much for presenting. And can you do a quick plug for the upcoming the fall Southwest Iowa Local
Yeah, oh
Food
my gosh.
Summit?
Thank you for reminding me. Yes, so it's in November and I don't want to get the number wrong, so I'm gonna pull up my calendar really quick here. Okay, November 6th, it's a Friday. We always do it on a Friday. Um, is our Southwest Iowa Local Food Summit. We move around to a different community every year so that we can kind of get different folks and give people an opportunity to say, hey, we're in your community, we're in your town, we're a little closer to you. So we've had it in Avoca, Malvern, Logan. This year it's going to be in Glenwood, Iowa. So that is just a little bit outside of the Council Bluffs area, not too far from there. It's actually pretty central in the scope of our counties. It's a free event. Breakfast and lunch are provided. It's just a time to kind of come together and learn what's going on in Southwest Iowa related to the farms in our area, the farm to school programming that we do. We also have a rural grocery program that thankfully I do not run. It is amazing though. So we talk a lot about that, and it's just to kind of get the community together around local foods. We've had sessions on like farm stores and farm stops. So please come out. I know it's way over here in the other side of the state, but if you can, or if you have funding to be able to attend, we do offer farmer stipends for farmers who are attending, and we have a like a vendor's market there where farmers can sell their food and flowers and honey and all kinds of things as well. So Friday, November 6th, and it's 9 to like 4. Yeah. Registration's on our website. Our website is cfra.org. I'll put something in the chat. I'll put the like link to the
Great.
thing in the chat. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. It really is an amazing event. So
Yeah.
whoever wants to put together a carpool from Central Iowa, let's
Yeah.
get it. Cool. Thanks again, Cait.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and for sharing.